What's up, everybody? It is Kellen here from Start Your Systems, and welcome back to MX Bikes, where today we're going to be playing the 2025 Daytona Supercross that just happened over the weekend, and talking about, honestly, how damn good of a job the ARL track crew did on building this track. It is, first off, maybe the gnarliest Supercross track I've ever played in this game. They've done this before with Daytona, like where they've just gone all out and it's ruddy and gnarly and crazy. And honestly, surprisingly, since I did not get a chance to play this track when it came out, I was in Daytona, so it comes out Friday, and I'm obviously at the race, so I didn't get to play it. But I watched my buddy Hemi, he did a lap, and we posted it up on our social accounts, and I'm like, Jesus, this track is gnarly rough. And now playing it, like, yes, it is, but it's way more playable than I expected. So kudos to ARL, because I feel like they somehow found this really good middle ground of a track that's really rough, challenging, Daytona-esque, but also kind of realistic because it works. Yeah, so let's talk about how this track shaped up and all the different things that go with it, and try to do as many of the real lines as possible. Playing as Kyle Chisholm, or at least on his Twisted Tea Suzuki here today, simply because it is supposed to be Kyle's last Daytona at his home race that he just had over this past weekend. Now, I don't know that that's going to be true. I feel like Kyle's the type of guy that'll be like, yeah, we'll just go out and race Daytona in 2035. Why not? But it is supposed to be his last full-time season, so if this was his last Daytona, might as well go out in style and use Chiz, who is known for doing all the big lines on the track. But we'll talk about this track a little bit and break you guys down through it. So, yeah, this is about as close to what the track turned out to be that I feel like you could expect for putting the track out beforehand. Like, the only thing that really is different about this track versus the real track was after the raised corner, which is like halfway around the lap from now. I'm not even there. But after the raised corner, it was much more of like a roller section than a double-double. But you could double-double it. It just was more of a roller section than a double-double. And then like through here, this was a little bit more rhythmy so that you could get the 2-3 or roll 2-2 through there. Guys are launching this wall jump. I'll do it a couple times. It's honestly a little bit tougher in this version of it, I feel like, than it was IRL, just because the landing is very precise. And then this section right here was much more of like a double triple, but it was a faster, more rolled section. But honestly, like, ARL nailing that there's going to be like this one big line down the center of the whoops is insanely accurate to what it ended up being. The multiple options through here, which of course is tripling in, tripling again, and then the like over the tunnel jump into the sand, split to the left, split to the right, take a couple different options. And then this jump right here, which Roxon was seat bouncing into the corner every single lap and making some sweet passes or sweet attempted passes around the outside. But like I said, that thing was more of like rollers right there instead of like a true double-double. This rhythm section was also 3 in right here, and then you would 3 again, and then double over this thing right here, which totally accurate to what they're doing in real life. Inside-outside options here ended up being pretty, steady. I feel like most people would end up going inside to outside, but there was a couple guys that would make passes going outside to in. This one was more of like a ski jump double, and then there was moguls here instead of 4 rollers, which I just yarded on. But honestly, man, like, the rest of the track is so close to what it was. I just got to give them credit where credit is due. Like I said, we kind of laid into them a little bit at Glendale when things were way off with the rhythm sections that they built, and then they absolutely nailed this one on the head. So massive kudos all around. But yeah, this track was gnarly. Even talked to a lot of riders post-race, and I specifically asked Seth Hamaker about this track and how it broke down. He said it was the gnarliest Daytona he's ever raced. He's only raced 3 of them, but gnarliest Daytona he's ever raced.
Daytona's always pretty gnarly. What did you learn about yourself and the bike throughout the day just on this track?
Yeah, this Daytona track this is my 3rd time racing here as a pro, and this was the gnarliest one for sure by yet that I've raced here. So
yeah, like this one was no slouch whatsoever. Let me try to launch the wall here for you guys, since Hardy Munoz line, as people were calling it, right to that single, and then you bounce a little bit in bikes because of the pips physics, and then of course the filthy scrub of the finish line jump, and then started another lap. And honestly, man, I'm so bummed still. Every time I go through this section playing bikes, I'm like, I just think about Levi Kitchen going over the bars right there. Obviously saw it happen live, and it's just brutal to watch the replay of it even, to be honest. So Yeah, that was miserable. But if there's a silver lining to that, he did say today he has a couple fractures in his back, which is not good. He has a broken collarbone, which is not good either. But, collarbones are one of the most notorious things that moto people break. So probably been there, done that a few times already. And that's it. Like, doesn't say that he has like some gnarly concussion or had any sort of like sensation loss or anything like that. I mean, he got up obviously and walked off the track before being tended to by the medics. But when you watch a crash like that, and I've seen a handful of those types of crashes live and replayed and stuff like that, and it's just the worst because there's so much force being applied by hitting the dirt, because not only do you hit the ground, but then you're forced into the ground even more by your bike, which is exactly what happened to Kitchen. And it reminded me a lot of a crash that Kevin Windham had in 1998, where he also, I think, fractured some vertebrae in his back. So, yeah, that one was brutal. I hated to see it for sure, but like I said, if there's any silver lining, is that somehow it seems like he did not get, amazingly horribly hurt to any degree. Like, he's going to be okay. It's going to obviously take some time to heal, but he'll be back, and that's good news versus the alternative, which could have been a lot worse than that. Back to more positive things, though. Yes, Hardy was the first person that was really the guy sending the wall. A couple guys really started to figure it out. Chase Sexton did it on his best lap, and then really by the night show, everyone was kind of doing the wall send to some degree. But Hardy was still the man. He almost passed Tom Vial to lead the heat race doing the wall send. And then, yeah, this line down the middle of the whoops was kind of gnarly. Like, a couple guys were still blitzing by the main event. Sexton was definitely one of them. But for the most part, everyone was going to that middle line and jumping, or finding a way to, like, kind of get through it fast without jumping, just blitzing the center line. But it was kind of sketchy a couple runs. Particularly, I watched Roxon have a couple runs in there that was like, ooh. But he held on, got the win, and that was super awesome to see Kenny get the dub. But this track was overall one of my more favorite Daytonas, to be honest. Ricky Carmichael designs the track, has been designing the track for quite a long time, contrary to popular belief, or not contrary to popular belief, contrary to belief of one person who commented on the channel and said that it's not a Ricky Carmichael build, it's a Dirtworks build. Dirtworks builds the track as they do it every other round, but Carmichael designs it. So cool that Ricky, I feel like, actually laid out a pretty sick one for us this year. I really do feel like it provided good racing. It was fast and slow in areas. It wasn't very prototypical Daytona. Like, we didn't have gator pits, and we didn't have well, we had some walls, but we didn't have like those true walls that you normally see at Daytona, which are like full-blown stopper walls. So yeah, I like this track a lot, and I feel like in general most people seem to enjoy it as well. Fans at Daytona, there's a pretty healthy crowd, it felt like, too. I don't know if that was one of the bigger crowds at Daytona or not, but overall it seemed like there was a lot of people there. Oh, we're coming up short. Hello, crowd over there. And overall, yeah, like Roxon winning, Hampshire winning, 2 first-time winners. For Hampshire, it's a big deal. Florida kid getting a home race win, more or less, and then his dad passed away recently, so that was cool. And then Roxon now getting his first Daytona win, which honestly is kind of crazy that Roxon hasn't won this race before, because if you really think about it, if you break this down for just like 1 second and think about who's really damn good at motocross in this sport in the last decade or so, yeah, of course Eli Tomac comes to mind, but you have to put Ken Roxon up there as like one of the next guys that you would say like, oh, he's really good at motocross on a 450. And yes, Eli Tomac has taken up the lion's share of wins at Daytona, but I would have thought Roxon's like natural ability and skill would have got him away from Tomac or Justin Brayton or some of those guys at one point. Obviously, Brayton won it when Roxon was hurt, but point being is that like I'm surprised Roxon hasn't won this race before, and actually he even said post-race that he's had struggles at this race before, so that was kind of interesting. But cool to see him get it done, and sets up a very interesting championship dynamic. I don't go in deep on race reviews or anything like that anymore here on this channel. If you guys want to hear my thoughts on the races and what I saw on the weekend, there's 2 ways you can do it now. One is listening to the LVK More Than Moto podcast that I do with Lewis Phillips on the Steve Mathis Podcast Network or on PulpMX YouTube. Or you can go to Swap Moto Live on either YouTube, or you could go to swapmotolive.com. I write a column over there every week when I go to the races called Kickstart, or talk about some of the things I saw and heard and etc. And also, all the YouTube videos from the weekend are from moi, doing news break and how was your weekend and press day raw. And there's a checking in with coming up this week you guys also want to tune in for. So yeah, you guys can check me out over there if you're keen to hear more about what I have to say. But what I do have to say overall about this Daytona track and MX Bikes is round of applause, ARL. You guys did a fantastic job on this track. It is rough, it is gnarly, but it gives you the Daytona vibe. And it's a really fun challenge, to be honest. Like it's kind of unique to have a track thrown in the middle of Supercross like this that is so gnarly, so big, so many different elements to either get wrong or right on, and kind of break up the mold for sure. Like instead of just stereotypical come out of a corner and hit some big 3 into a rhythm section, like you really have to think about it on this version of Daytona, which I like. I like stuff that makes you actually try a little bit harder and do some different stuff. Go inside here and see if we can double out of this corner. Oh, not quite. I'm going to try one more thing because I have not done the line to prove it, but it is definitely possible to go outside here. Honestly, you could probably cut down even a rut lower. 3 in, and then 3 again, and then, ooh, not do the Levi Kitchen line right there. And then double over the start thing, which was also a very cool line that was incorporated into the real track, honestly. Like, I love little tidbits like that where instead of like it just being a wall jump, so we just do the same thing tripling in. It was a line that the guys could actually use and jump over and do some fun technique stuff with. So here we go. Out of this corner. I hit the tough blocks. Got to try to line it up a little bit better. Every time I try to do these lines, I overthink it. All right, there we go. There's a 3 in, 3 again. Land in transition, and boom, over the back. And then you could charge into this berm out here. Rip it. Get through the bumps right there. Charge to this inside. Tuck a front wheel. Then we'll get going again. And we're Kyle Chisholm, so we got to get absolutely upside down on the double. Quad into the corner. Ooh, that is a rough one. But this is Daytona 2025 NMX Bikes by the ARL track crew. If you guys want this, get it in the description below. It is a paid mod, but I always recommend you guys support the creators that actually put some real time and effort into this community. And there's a lot of custom tracks too that you really should check out on MX Bike Shop. But thanks for tuning in. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this one, and we'll see you guys in the next one. So long for now.